All right guys, super excited about today's video. We are gonna go over how to make your own DIY rear bumper for your first gen Tacoma. Costs less than 250 bucks, weighs less than the stock bumper with tow hitch, and I think it looks badass. So let's get into it and start the video. We are all back from the steel supply store the other day. I've got all the steel, or most all of it, that I need for the bumper. So we're gonna get to doing some cutting. I've already done some simple templating for the brackets, which right now are just cardboard. But I'm gonna, probably by the time this video is out or soon, there's gonna be something you guys can download so you can make these as well. This is gonna be mounting to the back side of the bumper here, and then along the frame rail. And this guy's gonna go something like that. So yeah, this is 1/4 inch plate steel I'm going to use for the brackets that mount to the bumper, and then I've got my lengths of 5 by 3 inch, and I went with 3/4, or sorry, not 3/4, 3/16 wall thickness. So pretty heavy wall thickness. I probably could have done 1/8 wall, but I just thought, you know what, this wasn't that much more, and just a little more peace of mind for the tire carrier that's going to be on top here. So yeah, that's what we got right there. There's our tools. Let's talk about our tools. Okay, so here are the basic tools I'm going to be using for this build. Nothing crazy. An angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, and then I have another angle grinder with a sander. You don't have to have two, you could just use one, but this is faster than changing the blades back from blade to sander. So got those guys. I've got a simple construction skill saw that was given to me, and on the skill saw I'm going to put a fresh blade because we're cutting that kind of thicker steel, and this one's getting worn out. But this is the Diablo Steel Demon Surmont with carbide blade, $29 at Home Depot today. This thing is amazing. It's going to cut that 1/4 inch plate like wood, at least for a while. And then I've got my knee pads. I got a Sharpie finally, and then I actually got this from Harbor Freight in a pack. It's like a what's this called? You guys will know what it is, sandstone or something like that. Anyways, it's a nice type of marker for marking on metal. Don't need it, you can use this, but this is good. This is at Harbor Freight. And then this is just this is called a speed square, or a square. This is really nice to have. You can hang this on your tubing and make sure you're making nice square lines and stuff. So this is $1 or $2. I would get one of these for this project, just because you don't want to you want to be able to cut your corners nice and square. So grab one of those if you can. If not, I think the templates are going to work well. So we're going to get to doing our first cuts. Quick tip: if you're changing a blade on one of these saws for the very first time, they are actually reverse threaded. So lefty loosey is normal, but on this saw, if you go left, it's going to tighten it up. So we actually want to go to the right, and that's going to take the blade off. Oh, another quick tip: if you're a first-time saw user putting a new blade on, you would think the label goes on the outside, but it does not. It goes on the inside. Or at least you should check your blades want to be cutting forward. If you put it in this way, it is not going to work. The blade spins clockwise, so you need those teeth going forward in your area of cutting. So I've got the pieces cut out, and this is where the bumper is going to mount to your frame, truck frame mounts, and you want to make sure that this is nice and square once you put it on there, but it doesn't hurt at all to make sure that it's square before you put it on too, just as reference. So this one's looking really good. I think this one could be just a little, I mean, barely. So I might just hit this with the sander and square that up a little bit, and then we can move on to the next part. Okay, so I've got the basics cut out now. I'll be the first to say these did not turn out very super well. There's some funny shapes to them and stuff, but the main important part is that this is nice and square with this edge, and I can always adjust where the holes are based on when I get it up there and test fit it. So next thing, I'm going to clean these up, and then we got to score these little plates here so that I can bend them to match this line, if that makes sense. It's going to be right about there. So I'm going to do a deep score right here, and then a deep score here, and bend them so that they fit this, and then this is going to be the bottom of the bumper. So it's going to really hold this plate on. So I'm going to start doing that now. Okay, so I've gone most of the way through that piece of plate. Not all the way through, but most of the way through. And then I'm going to use a crescent wrench to grab the end, and the leverage of the crescent wrench to bend it. So check out how easy this is. Okay, so here's the piece we just made our first bend. We used the crescent wrench for some leverage, and this almost never happens, but I think I nailed it the first time with that much bend. Of course, this is going to get welded here, so it's going to be even stronger. But now that we have this piece of plate bent right there, I can see that it needs to bend backwards right about there. So I've got that mark. I'm going to use our speed square and ta-da! That one worked out really well. So now I've got this cut here, and we're gonna bend it back, and yeah, really stoked on how satisfying that is. I was gonna say easy, but it is easy, but it's satisfying. So I'm gonna bend this back, and then I'm gonna do the same thing for that one as well, and we'll probably just skip to once I have both of these together. Okay, this is by far the most satisfying portion of this project so far, and that was making these simple little plates to fit on here. So I'm going to clean this up now that I've got both, and then we can tack this on to these plates, and then we can put it on to our bumper, and then we can double check our hole placement. So pretty excited. Okay, nice and cleaned up, and it makes such a big difference. So I ended up using this 1/4 inch plate that I had. It was in a long strip already, so it saved me a little cutting, and that's why you might be like, hey, that's a different plate than you used there. Ideally, I think 1/4 inch would be best for all this, and hopefully by the time this video is out, I have these available in 1/4 inch plate for you to buy, or at least build yourself easily. So these are all cleaned up and ready to get put on here. And I think the next part is I'm going to do a couple strong tacks on here on both of these, and then we can put it onto our bumper, or at least onto the frame, and get the hole locations that I want to do. I had the template with holes in it, but I'm just going to double check and just put a marker basically through the holes in the frame of the truck and get some new, just to double check. You know what I'm saying. My parts set up here on my welding table, and this is how I'm going to tack it together using those Harbor Freight magnetic squares, which are super helpful. You guys definitely get some if you haven't already. I'm gonna do some strong tacks on this one, and I'm gonna do this next one as well, and then we can go from there. So here comes an important part. We gotta figure out where the center of the bumper is so that we can figure out where to place our supports. So we've got 65 inches divided by 2. It's gonna be right here. That's our center. Frame rails, the distance between frame rail to frame rail on my truck is 41 1/4 inch. So divide that by 2. We should have 20.6. So then we're gonna go 20.6 inches from the center, and that's where the inside of our first mounting plate's gonna be. Did you guys get that? Basically, you want to find the middle of your bumper and do that by measuring the total width, divide it by 2. Once you have your middle, then you divide the placement of your arms, or your mounting plates, by 2. So in my case, it was 41 1/4 divided by 2. Whatever that number is divided by 2, you take that and you measure off the center, and that's how you can place your wings. You know, you've got the center of your bumper and you've got them mounted in the right spot. That way your bumper's not lopsided. So we have that now. I can tack this on there and then we can test fit the bumper. Okay, so this is an important part right here, and I just wanted to give you this little tip. Use your speed square to make sure you're squared up. Tack on either side so that you can still bend it back and forth. Don't tack both sides yet. Tack either side, and then get over here with the speed square. Make sure it's all squared up. Hold it, and then just add a tack right down here on either side. This will keep it from wanting to go too far out, too far in. So once you have it squared like this, you can add that little tack, and that'll hold it nice and square. All right, guys, this is what you call the sketchy part. Check out my jack setup. If you have a neighbor like I do, I'm gonna call him over in a second, and he's gonna help me just make sure it doesn't fall on my head when I, well, that was close, when I mark the holes for the mounts. But check out, you can see how it looks. So everything's still tacked together. I've got the supports running down the frame over the shackle and all the way as far as I can, because I'm probably going to attach here to come out in the future to a guard back there, like a high clearance style. So I'm going to go on the inside and mark from the inside with the marker and get at least 1 point on each one marked, and then I can better get the once I get the far inside ones marked, drilled, put a bolt through, then I can come back here and adjust it and mark those. Okay, bumper is back out from under the truck. I've got my drill here, got my little mark there. This is the initial one. I'm gonna bore this out on both sides, and then probably put the bumper back on, put those bolts through, and then I can adjust the angle of the bumper in the back before I do this next one. So now that I've made, I think a 5/16 hole, I'm gonna step it up to the 1/2 inch and get that bored out, and then we can put it on the truck. My neighbors are going crazy over there. All right, you guys, it's been about a week since I last worked on the bumper. Just haven't had time to work on it. But now, this would be technically day 2 of working on it. And I'm pretty excited because I think we're gonna make a lot of progress. So what I'm gonna work on is adding our shackle hangers to the bumper that's on the truck. So I'm gonna pull that guy off. We're gonna make some measurements, do some cutting, and get this thing finished up. So next part is going to be figuring out where you want to place these. So I've gone ahead and put a center point in the middle of the bumper. Same way, you know, measure full distance of your bumper divided by 1/2, and then you can measure from one side and get it exactly. So I've got my center point, and I'm going to place these guys out here at 17.5 inches from center on both sides. So all I got to do is measure 17.5. and that's what my dead center is for this guy. Same thing for that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark these, and then I can get to placing them on there. I'm gonna actually cut into this tubing so that I can run a longer piece through here. I'll show you how that works. Okay, so here's what I want to do with these guys. I looked a lot online for a shackle hanger. I think there you can, if you Google clevis mount or bumper clevis mount, this is what you're gonna find. Ideally, I would have one that was 6 inches long so that it could go through the thickness of the tubing. So this metal piece, I'd love for it to go all the way down here. Then I could cut a trough, drop it in, and weld the back side as well as the front side. So when you're recovering from this point, you're not just pulling on these welds and this side of the tubing. And some people might think it's overkill. There's going to be some people who say it's definitely not. And I'm in I'm in that boat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 1/4 inch bar, which I have from a scrap pile, and I'm going to cut myself a 3 1/4 inch, maybe 3.5 inch long piece here. And I'm also going to make a cut in the back here with the grinding wheel. And then I'm going to stick them together in the center, weld both sides of this, and then I'll effectively have a 6.5 inch long mount here. And what I can do with that is cut a hole on this side of the tubing, cut a hole on the back side, drop this in, and then that way I can weld the front and I can weld the back. And when we pull really hard on this, it's pulling on the whole bumper, not just the face of it and those welds. So that's what I'm going to start doing. It's a lot of extra work, but I think it's going to pay off in the end, knowing that I have peace of mind that these aren't going anywhere. So let's work on that. So we've got our little sections cut out. Now the tricky part is going to be getting a nice cut through here. I don't have to, I guess I'm gonna try though, just a little cut in here just to kind of give it a little more mating surface when I weld that to the back. We'll see how this works. I might just put something in here, step on it, and try and cut a little trough. I think we're ready to kind of make this into one piece here. Kind of sanded, cut out a little bit here. It was easier than I thought, so just went for it. I don't think it's really that necessary, but basically this guy's gonna sit in here and we're gonna add some weld. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the welder and get to extending these mounts. Come here, welder. Here's a look at the welder I'll be using today and for all my projects. It's a Forney 220 MP. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I've been using this from the beginning and really like it. It's a multi-process welder, can run gas, MIG, and it also runs on 220, or like now only in the garage I only have 120, so that's pretty nice. Plug her in there. Turn it on. This is the first welder I've ever had, so I've been really enjoying it. Yeah, so that's the welder I'm going to be using. I'm probably going to turn it up to full blast on 120. Now, if I had 220, that'd be better for this thick gauge metal, but this is what I'm probably going to try. Maybe that. Okay. Okay, pretty happy with how this turned out. I think the welds look pretty good. Definitely looks like it's penetrating well, which I was worried about with this really heavy metal. I could see it cutting away into this, so that's a good sign. Everything's looking pretty good. So we're gonna cool down a little bit, and then I'm going to mark out where I need to make the slot for that. So remember, this is dropping through there, so I'm gonna cut a slot and drop this guy in. Both sides are, both sides are cut channel, left and right. Now I gotta flip the bumper around, make the same slot on the back side. Okay, this is where this guy comes in handy. So I've drawn my line, continued it around with the speed square. So now I can just drop this down on either side of that, and I know the depth and I know the placement. So same thing, gonna mark this out, get to cutting. Check this out. Nice. So I'm gonna look at these holes and see, it looks like this one might need to be just adjusted, you know, give me a little more space this way, or maybe I just need to weld it that way. This guy's all the way through as well. And you know what's nice is that it's gonna give us, we can weld a nice fat bead on the back here and all the way around. And look at how nice, how much area we're gonna have to weld under here too. So I could open this up a little bit, get this closer, but you know what? I think it's just gonna be nice to be able to put a weld right in there and get a really nice, really nice attachment. So very stoked. I wanted to make one more point. I just cleaned this up a little bit with the flap, or not the flap disc, but the fiber disc, just to smooth it out. And then remember how we measured to make sure that this was exactly right? Well, we've got plenty of room to go up and down, and I just wanted to say it doesn't have to be dead in the center. You just want this one and this one to be in the same height, so that when you look at the back of the truck, it doesn't look cockeyed. So before you tack, I'm just gonna go down here, make sure both of these are in the exact same position from the top, and then I know that it's not gonna look cockeyed. So I'm gonna leave it just like that, tack it, and then do some adjusting before I do a full weld. Okay, I already made a mistake because I tacked too hard on one side without tacking the other, and it's lifted it this way. So I'm gonna have to hammer this back or cut where I did that kind of big tack and redo that. So keep in mind, gonna make mistakes, but don't give up. We'll be fine. So that is one pass around with the welder. I'm gonna do a second pass and build that up since there's still a little bit of space, you know, fill it out so it kind of comes away from the previous mount. You know what I'm trying to say. One more pass and then we'll move on to the next one. Front is now fully welded. Very, very, very welded. And now we're gonna get to the back and tie these into the back. I'm really stoked I did it this way. It is a bunch more work if you're doing it exactly like I am. Hopefully I have some parts available soon where you won't have to do exactly what I just did. It'll pass all the way through and a little simpler. This is really nice to know that there's gonna be a big weld here holding that guy on just in case. So kind of nice peace of mind, a little more quality. We're gonna get to welding this. Okay guys, a little splattery, but I'm liking the look of some of this. Hit it with the wire brush. It looks a little nicer. I'll probably go in here with the flap disc or fiber wheel and just clean up some of this. I need to get some anti-spatter spray, but this is again the inside of the bumper, so it's not as big of a deal. Check it out, fully welded through. Some pretty big welds on there. Not the most beautiful thing, but it is strong, and that is beautiful. So all the way through, you can see our little plates sticking out the back, fully welded. Peace of mind. We're gonna put these guys on. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. That looks awesome. Super stoked on how this is turning out. Nice. Okay, on to the next part. Next, we're gonna add our tow hitch. Now I got this 6-inch receiver off of Amazon. I think it was $16. You could definitely buy, if you had this tubing, obviously it's not gonna cost you $16 for this tiny piece of tubing, but it's already drilled. It was only 16 bucks. It's convenient. It's got this nice extra-ness on the front, and I know it was the right size, so for 16 bucks I just went ahead and ordered it. It's not much comparative to the cost of the whole bumper, and some people may not even want to add one of these, but again, going off my very helpful center line for the whole bumper, gonna center this guy up, tack it, and then fully weld it on, and then we're also going to do a strap over the top that is going to bend down on both these sides, kind of like this. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do next. So follow along. What I'm gonna do is find the center of this plate, mark it on here, and then I'm just gonna actually eyeball with a marker here and get my first bends down, and then I'll go from there getting these next ones probably equal length. So see how it goes. Well, I think I made a mistake here. The hole in my hitch is right in the middle of this tubing, and I didn't even think about that before I put some rather heavy welds on. So if I put this on here, there's just no way to get the pin through there. So it, you know, it'd be better if it was just a little farther back or if it was a little forward. So what I'm gonna do is actually cut these welds off and reposition this tube. So sometimes you make a mistake, it's gonna take you a little longer to get back. So that's what I'm gonna work on now and come back when I've got it figured out in a better way. Did some work, backtracked, and now we've got a working solution. So what I did was cut the welds off and then trim about 1/4 inch off of this and flip it backwards. I also cut a relief in here so that the pin can easily, even if you have a really long one like this, easily go in there. So that's where we're at. Now we get to move forward, and I'm going to start welding this down, and make some more progress. What do you guys think? Fully welded on there. Pretty happy with the welds. I feel like I'm getting better and better. Nice, strong looking welds. Definitely penetrating through all the way around on every piece. So super happy with that. That is on. Next step is going to be mounting it onto the back of the truck to get some test measurements. I originally was going to do a wraparound with this bumper, but I think my brother-in-law, who lives next door, wants this for his regular cab truck with no wraparound. So I think I'm going to be reducing the width by about 1 inch just to fit the body lines a little better. But the other thing we're going to do is add a top plate, and I was looking through some of my scrap metal, and I've got all this stuff for free, if you can believe it or not, from an industrial welding place, and I found these heavy diamond plate. Now this is, I think, 10 gauge with diamond on top. It's really grippy, really heavy, high diamond. Make sure that this is going to fit under the tailgate, but this should be exactly as wide as I need it. I'm just going to slice it down the middle and put one piece on either side. So let's test fit the bumper and we can get our measurements. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for right here, is actually how much space do I have left when I close the tailgate. And it looks like I'm gonna have enough for that diamond plate. Now, bumper is just on with a couple bolts, not totally tightened down, but there's our first look. Really excited. Doing some test measurements here. And you can see this inside piece here. That is, if I do 4 inches and place the plate right there, that should be just about perfect. So this plate is 12 inches. So it looks like I'm going to be cutting 2 strips of 4 inches out of it. 6 inches would just be too wide unless I somehow got it to go under that. So I think it's going to be 2 cuts at 4 inches, like that, and be going back there just a little bit. That's what we're gonna do now. Got our diamond plate upside down here, and I've got it clamped onto my sawhorse, 4 inches, we're gonna use the trusty skill saw, and unfortunately I kind of burned up this blade as you saw me on that AR 400 steel, so it's gonna be a little rough. I think we're gonna be able to get through this, and let's see how she does. Okay, I am just got this mocked up. It's exactly where I want it, so I'm gonna go a line here so I know to end it there, and a line like this, just so I know I've got it right in the spot I want it. I'm even gonna go A, and B, just so I know that the plates are lining up. I've got them exactly how I had them before is what I'm trying to say. So now that it's like that, I'm gonna pull this bumper off. We're gonna weld that on. I could just tack weld it on here, but I don't want to disconnect the car battery. So I'm just gonna pull the bumper off and get it fully welded, and man, we're getting super close. The last thing we have to do is cap the ends, and I've got to decide whether or not I want to bring this in a little bit, like 1 inch, or if I kind of want the slightly wider look. It's just past this body panel, which means you might grab on something. Of course, if you're grabbing on something that close, you probably already whacked this. The reason I had it initially out this far is so that I could easily add some type of protection here. So I might leave it like this for now and just see how it goes, see how it looks. I'm kind of liking the slightly wider look. So oh man, we are so close, guys. Let's pull this off, get that welded. Okay, it's tacked on. One final look. I can already tell the plate I was cutting has got a little, either I cut it in or it already had not a perfectly straight edge. But cool thing is this is actually hidden by the back of the truck, so not a problem. The front is gonna look good. I'm gonna actually hit this with the flap disc a little bit and clean up this edge just so the weld goes on better. I think specifically right here. So I'm gonna do that right now before I weld, and then it's gonna be weld time. Hey dude, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
So this is end cap number 1, and it turned out surprisingly well. I think actually perfect, because it's going to give me enough space to weld on. So the sizing of this thing is 3 3/4 for this bottom part and 1 1/2 for the top. So that works perfectly. Yes. Wow, I think this bumper is fully welded up. It's now time to just come in here with the flap disc and make this look really pretty. So it doesn't look like there was anything there, no weld at all, just nicely capped off. So I'm gonna get to that. And man, time to put this on the truck. Obviously we gotta paint it. I would like to powder coat this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that for this one right away. If I might just do some spray can paint first because I'm impatient, but really liking this. Let's get to cleaning it up. All right guys, a couple days later, I just got some more time to finish working on the bumper, and I've got it all built out like you saw it last. I've test fitted on the truck, pulled it off, cleaned it really nicely, and now it's ready for paint. But so before I go to the store and get paint, let me show you what it looks like. Guys, here is the bumper, nice and sanded with the fiber disc, nice and polished, kind of a chrome bumper at the moment. I cleaned up the diamond plate using a wire wheel on the angle grinder. Again, angle grinder, one of the very best tools you can have, and it's also very cheap. So I've capped the ends. Same method I used to make all the other bins. I cut a piece that was about this long. I think you saw that. Put it in there. Shackle mounts are looking good. Again, all the way through to the back of the bumper. Really liking how this turned out. I'm excited to get some paint on it. I do plan to add a spare tire carrier swing out on the back of this. So if you are planning on doing that, watch my next video before you paint this, because it'll be it's just nicer not to to weld on painted surfaces and have to clean it up. But because I want you to be able to see what this looks like, and in case you're not building the swing out tire carrier, I'm going to paint this and get it mounted on the truck so we can see what we've built so far. I'm not going to go into detail on how I'm spray painting it, just because I think there's a lot of other videos out there that do a better job, and I'm not an expert. But I'm going to use primer, get it nice and generously covered in primer, and then I'm going to use one of the spray paint that I've been really liking the finish on, and that is the hammered black Krylon paint. And I use this to paint my front bumper. Really liked it. Used it to paint about 5 of those roof racks I made. Really liked it. It kind of gives it a hammered, textured, almost powder coat look. Really nice. So unfortunately this stuff's kind of expensive. It's like $7 a can. This is like $6. You might be able to find it cheaper, but that's what I'm going to use today. Primer this guy up and then throw some paint on. So let's see how it goes. First coat of primer is on, and man, primer is so easy to paint because it's just so forgiving. It goes on so flat, doesn't bubble up. Man, this bumper, the paint looks really good on here. I'm gonna do probably 1 or 2 more coats of primer, and then I'm gonna do that Krylon hammered paint. That's gonna really look good, and it's cool because it fills in imperfections and little divots and stuff in the welds and just kind of smooths everything out. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to go light over here because that's where I'm going to be putting my tire swing out, and I don't want to have to grind through a ton of paint. But yeah, excited guys. It's looking really good. I wish you could see this in person, but this video is going to have to do it justice. Hopefully it can. All right, more paint. All right, let's try this stuff out. Here's the hardware I'm using, 3/4 inch, grade 8 or grade 10, big heavy fender washers. This is, I think, 2 inches long, plenty long enough. And then this is one with the truck. That one's pretty thrashed. This goes into the welded nut that's in the frame. So you probably still have these if you have a bumper on there. Save them, you're gonna use those. And then, depending on how many holes you end up doing, I have 1, 2, 3, so 2 of these type, and then you can also go through the bottom here. All right, looking at the back of the truck, we've got our first bolt in here. The next bolt hole is right here, and man, it's hard to see, but there's a threaded hole right there that we're trying to line up. So I'm gonna put this here and lift up on the back of the bumper with my other hand and gently get this thread started nicely. And then the third one that you could do would be all the way down here. If you can see that. There's an oblong hole in the frame, and when this is lifted up in the back, this is going to come down. You can also get it here. That way you can tag into this for your support for your wraparound. Alright guys, so now's the fun part. We finally finished up the whole bumper, got it welded, got it painted, and I installed it on the truck. Let's take a look at what we just built. I'm super happy with how this project turned out. The diamond plate I think really adds a lot. I think I said that a few times already, but I love the diamond plate on here. The shackle mounts, I love how those turned out. I'm super stoked that I decided to go all the way through the bumper, and I really recommend doing that. Gosh, this project is just really simple. You just need a piece of tube and you just need the mounting brackets. Now, cutting them out by hand is probably the most difficult part of this whole project, but the cool thing is I've got something for you guys that you're gonna be able to skip that entire step, and you should be able to order these brackets right now that I custom designed and had laser cut. So check out the link in the description of the video for the latest version of this. This is the first one, and I already test fitted it. Works really well. So yeah, super stoked to share that with you guys. There's gonna be a bracket so you can skip the hard part, get the holes right exactly the first time, and all you're gonna have to do is basically weld this to your piece of tube, make your cuts and cap it, and you're gonna have a bumper. The whole thing is gonna be less than 250 bucks. So yeah, just super excited to be able to share this project with you guys. I hope it was helpful. If you have questions on any steps that I missed, or you're getting stuck on something, definitely leave it in the comments and I'll try my best to answer those. Other than that, I just really appreciate you guys waiting all the way through this 1 hour long video. I'm super excited to share stage 2, which is where we're gonna build the swing out tire carrier and drop down table. I think that's probably one of my... Nice rocket! Super excited to share the swing out tire carrier drop down table. That's a real fun project and really changes the look of the truck. So that's going to be next, and then stage 3 is going to be the full armor. So depending on when you're watching this video, click on the next video, it's already out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the subscriptions, the subscribes, the comments. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.